So a weapon type we don't get many of inside of Destiny are these aggressive pulse rifles. However, this season, with the new raid, Insidious is single-handedly reviving this archetype of pulse rifle. And by the way, my people that don't like pulse rifles, you call them dad rifles. I don't know what you call them. It doesn't really matter because this rifle will spit all over you, match after match. Whether it's a dad on the other end, a grandpa, your uncle, it don't matter. Now, Insidious actually drops from 2 different encounters. From the second encounter, the Caretaker, and of course the final encounter, Rook. And you can actually purchase it with spoils at the end there with the chest. However, Master Mode, Vow of the Disciple will eventually be upon us, meaning we'll be able to get this pulse rifle in its adept form. Now, the question that we're having is, will we be able to actually craft the adept version of this weapon? I don't know. However, today I am going to present you a god roll we got to play with. Shout out to Junk Dog Joe for allowing us to play with this weapon. And again, guys, what makes this pulse rifle so unique is that it's a 4-round burst. Now, some of the most popular 4-round burst weapons in the game previously, obviously Blast Furnace. Blast Furnace was bae for a lot of reasons. And so understand, reviewing this pulse rifle, the bar was set by Blast Furnace to me, even above Sacred Providence. Blast Furnace had that Rasmussen sight, that scope. And if y'all remember our Black Armory weapons, they just had an aesthetic from the weapon itself to when you're aiming down sights that was just clean. Now, Insidious is not bad. It's also a pretty decently clean weapon. It's got an easy to follow reticle. And the roll that we got to play with right here was actually this one. It had 2 different barrel options, both arrowhead break and full bore. It also had accuracy rounds and rapid hit and rampage. Now, the reason why rapid hit is so good on a pulse rifle is, again, being a burst fire weapon. Every single shot within that burst counts as a single shot, meaning you can get on other pulse rifles an immediate ×3 in rapid hit stacks. What makes this even nastier here on Insidious is that you can get ×4 with rapid hit with a single burst. And again, when we talk about rapid hit, you're talking at 1 stack giving you 5 reload speed and 5 stability, which lasts for 2 seconds. 2 stacks, that kicks up that reload by +27 and that stability by +10. 3 stacks, 32 reload, 15 stability. 4 stacks, 40 reload, 20 stability. And 5 stacks, 54 reload, 23 stability. Obviously, you can see right here, guys, where you run into a situation where you're almost maxing out stats here at that ×5 mark, right? For both reload speed and stability, which is why I think if you have rapid hits on this pulse rifle, fellas, load out for range, which is kind of what we did here, at least in regards to our magazine perk. Instead of steady rounds, we went with accuracy rounds, just to tack on more range, which, by the way, accuracy rounds gives you like an extra meter, maybe like 1.5 meters. Base default range on this weapon being 77 means that damage fall off doesn't begin until about 38 meters, which is actually pretty good. However, the thing about Blast Furnace in the past and things like Go Figure is the manipulation of scopes and zoom. Insidious, though, by default, sits at about 18 zoom, putting its range in like the same department as like Sacred Providence. The difference is that Sacred Providence can roll with things like rangefinder. Now, our final trait in that column is, of course, Rampage, which is what we wanted to try, simply because Rampage elevates that damage. Not that you really need it on this pulse rifle. Something to mention about these aggressive pulse rifles, they already have a fantastic time to kill value of 0.73 seconds. 27 per crit, 16 per body. I know we get really hung up on high impact pulse rifles and their time to kill because they have a faster TTK at 0.67. The difference is aggressives allow for more forgiveness, only requiring 6 crits and 2 body. The downside, well, they have a lengthier body shot time to kill value, so you're definitely going to want to hit crits. But man, when you line it up right, Insidious here will get you 2 burst kills all day long. And with rapid hit and rampage stacking together, and this not even being the enhanced versions of these perks, I can only imagine how nasty this roll would actually be once we get a perfectly crafted roll. Now, let's talk real quick about barrel perks, because there's something to be said already about its current recoil direction. Right now, what you're seeing in front of you is the base recoil of the weapon, and you'll notice it's got hop to either side, and there's kind of a spread there, and I don't like this spread. It's a 4-round burst weapon, guys, so you're going to see some deviation, but this is a little too much deviation. Being 78 recoil direction has a wide margin of error, and when we actually throw on counterbalance mod, it actually scoots it over to the left. So even though it actually does bring it a little more vertical, it still slides to the left a little bit. There's 2 ways right here that you can max out your recoil direction, which is what I'm advising for this pulse rifle. Option number 1, throwing on arrowhead break will obviously fix these problems. And on top of that, arrowhead break is already pretty nice considering it gives you increase in handling. But that +30 in recoil would obviously max things out, thus freeing up the mod slot to use whatever you want. If you want to slot Icarus, and if you're taken to the air, maybe some freehand grip for that easy, fast, ready speed, maybe a targeting adjuster mod if you're on control, Solar, multiple different ways you can go with. Arrowhead Break allows for more freedom there. The other way is a way in which you can still tack on some benefits to some of your other perks, but you're gonna still need to slot it with a counterbalance mod. And that's either a combination of extended barrel or chambered compensator with counterbalance. Both of these will give you 25 recoil direction in combination with that counterbalance mod, thus allowing you to max out the recoil direction here of this weapon. Fellas, normally I would say, hey, you can get away with using whatever you want as far as barrel perks go. Just watch the recoil, tame it. The thing is though, these aggressive burst pulse rifles, they're hard to tame. That forced shot can mess you up badly mid gunfight. You don't want to have the weapon fighting you when you're trying to land shots, especially considering you're going to be dealing with another opponent in front of you who's also shooting you in the face. So you're going to be dealing with flinch on top of everything. So don't fight it. Go ahead and max out that recoil direction. Those are your two ways of doing it. And when you do, you'll notice that nice little cone. Everything stays right there, right down the middle. I made this adjustment toward the end of collecting all this gameplay, and boy, did it make a difference. Now, what is the furthest this pulse rifle can reach? Well, if you were to go full bore, accurized rounds, you would be sitting at a nice 99 range. Now, you could stretch this with, say, a ranged masterwork, although that's kind of a waste. But yes, this weapon can reach somewhere up to 41 to 42 meters, which is quite a bit of reach. Now, again, blast furnace, depending on the scope, can reach some crazy ranges. Fellas, I think we forget how strong blast furnace was, but some of the black armory scopes, guys, could allow blast furnace to reach all the way up to 55 meters. So there is a big deviation between the two. And I only present this to you, not saying that Insidious is not a good weapon or not as good as blast furnace. I'm just presenting this to you to say, hey, these are the limitations of the gun. Don't run out there in scout rifle territory or 50-meter range expecting to get full damage. You're going to see damage fall off. You're going to see reticle drop. And of course, when you start to see that, especially on a pulse rifle, being a 4-round burst pulse rifle, you're going to see shots missing. Now, the origin trait of the weapon. I do want to talk about this for a second. Soul Drinker. You essentially gain health based on the number of hits before reloading. A nice perk, something that can be taken outside of PvE and be used in PvP and elsewhere. And yes, it did give me slight health bumps. Was it noticeable though? Not that I saw. And maybe if I got multiple hits inside of PvP without reloading, maybe I could see the benefits here of Soul Drinker. The problem is, literally after every single gunfight, what are you doing? You're reloading. So you see the issue there, right? The main thing I'm trying to say about this trait is it's good. It is. It's a nice little cherry on top, but don't go out of your way to proc it. If you're sitting there with only 2 shots left in your pulse rifle, don't risk it not reloading for your next gunfight just to take advantage of that trait. Now, I do have questions. How does this work with things like transversive steps? Does that count as a reload? Can I continue carrying that benefit and get a ginormous bump there in health with Soul Drinker when I actually do finally manually reload? Questions, man. All kinds of questions. Hopefully, we'll be able to answer that soon. Either way it goes, Insidious, where it sits now, is actually a good pulse rifle. If you line up the shots, it will grant you beautiful 2-burst kills. It will chain kills well. It duels well if you have the right recoil direction. Guys, you're going to want to max it out. Don't sit at its default recoil. So I have a combination of counterbalance mod with one of those recoil direction boosting barrel perks or arrowhead break. Now, as far as the god roll, again, rapid hit rampage for both PvE and PvP is fantastic. But for PvP, if you wanted to try heating up with rampage, that too is always an option. Again, not a lot of wiggle room, which is why I think the enhanced version would be better, as it's supposed to allow heating up to last longer, as well as rampage. So chaining those kills should be easier when we can get to the point where we can actually sit down and slot these enhanced traits. Other options though, I still love the idea of that Dragonfly one for all combination. Like, that looks so good to me. Or Dragonfly Rampage or Adrenaline Junkie. Pretty much Dragonfly combined with any of those damage dealing perks, even Vorpal, would be pretty nice. I do want to say though, considering how well Void weapons are synergizing right now this season with our artifact mods, Volatile Flow for instance, with Arc 3.0 around the corner, expect to see some amazing synergy with your Arc weapons. So things like Dragonfly, causing all these explosions, that Adrenaline Junkie Demolitionist roll slotted here, all of that would be very, very good. And again, you really can never go wrong with that stats for all, one for all combo. Both of those perks work perfectly together. Now, as far as like the weird perks here, Adaptive Munitions, where the weapons adapts its damage output to be more effective against energy shields that don't match its damage type, also improves damage increase with the enhanced version. Again, this is one that I need to look at a little more. My question is can we use it in match game content? Match game is so punishing if you're not actually matching the energy type. What is the drop there in damage though? Like, what is the actual drop? We're gonna have to check that one out, especially the enhanced version of this thing, just to see if that perk can carry us through match game content and allow this arc weapon to gun down other shields. Either way it goes, guys, this pulse rifle overall impressed me. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.